on the Public Access Facebook page and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. If you would like to participate remotely, I encourage you to go to the town website prior to meetings, so that way you can pull up the webinar information as well as a toll-free number. If you have access to Zoom, that webinar ID tonight is 909-174-0347. As vice chair, I will be chairing tonight's meeting in the absence of Tom Alonso, as he's tending to a personal matter. The rest of the members are with me here tonight, so please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Didn't quite say indivisible correctly. All right, do we have any public comments tonight from the board? Any public comments tonight from the public? All right, seeing none, do we have any announcements tonight?
I have one announcement due at the front of the meeting, that we requested an extension for the deadline for the comment letter to Mass Housing, which they granted. That new deadline for the comment letter is September 2nd, Thursday, September 2nd. And comments from the public and residents, anyone who wishes to comment, please submit those comments by Monday, August 23rd.
Okay, so that's Monday, August 23rd, to submit public comments related to the 40B.
Yes.
So thank you for that update. Any other announcements tonight?
None.
Okay. All right, we're going to go straight forward to our appointments tonight. So the first appointment, 7:05, it's for a poll petition for 38 and 40 Gilchrist Street by Unitil.
Good evening. I'm Jim D. with Unitil, and we are looking to get permission for one mid-span pole. It would be a pole in between.
I have to apologize.
I thought you might have forgot how to.
Yeah.
I mean,
if I can have the clerk read the public hearing notice for tonight.
Yeah, usually they read that.
Okay. Okay. Notice, this is to all interested parties, in conformity with the requirements of Section 22 of Chapter 166 of the General Laws, you are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held at the Town Hall, 17 Main Street, 2nd floor, in the Joseph F. Bellata Meeting Room, Lunenburg, Massachusetts, or remotely via Zoom. Check the Select Board agenda for directions on how to join the meeting. On Tuesday, August 10th, 2021, at 7:05 p.m., upon petition of Unitil Fitchburg Gas and Electric for permission to erect or construct and a location for a line of wires, poles, and such other fixtures as may be necessary to sustain or protect the wires of the line for the transmission of electricity upon, along, across, or under the following public ways of said town. Gilchrist Street. 1. Proposed new pole location, approximately 582 feet northeast of the intersection of Northfield Road, at the property line between 38 and 48 Gilchrist Street, as shown on map as plan number 968-L, dated July 6, 2021. Location approximately as shown on plan is attached, and I presume will be shown, displayed. Wherefore it prays, that is Unitil, that after due notice and hearing as provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of the petitioners may desire for distributing purposes.
Thank you. Now, there is to note as we get going here, there is a typographical error in the application. It says 48 instead of 40. However, for Gilchrist Street, however, looking at all the information, the abutters notices, everything was properly notified to the correct abutters, so it's just a typographical error that shouldn't hinder us tonight. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, it was, the neighbor is 40, but I know it says on here 48, so just to get that right. So the purpose of this is we're trying to get permission to install one pole on Gilchrist Street in between pole 1 and 2 on Gilchrist Street as a mid-span pole directly, in line with the wires that are there. And this would be pretty much on the property line between 38 and 40 Gilchrist Street, and for the purpose of feeding 2 new houses, or serving 2 new houses with electric service, 36 and 38 Gilchrist Street. So we'd be coming off of that pole. The spans are really long, and there was nothing in front of their property or near their driveways without going across somebody else's property, so we need to do this mid-span pole to bring property to those up their driveways. So that's about all there is for that.
All right, yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward application. I do see that our DPW director in our notes took a drive-by and did not present any concerns about
Okay.
the proposal. For the board, we have this in our drive. Are there any questions for the applicant, representative from Unitil tonight?
No.
Okay. So the next step is then for us to approve this proposed new pole location, approximately 582 feet northeast of the intersection of Northwood Road at the property line between 38 and 40 Gilchrist Street, as shown on the map, plan number 968L. So I will entertain a motion for the same with that specific notation of 38 and 40 Gilchrist Street, as shown on the map.
Second.
All right. Is there any other discussion tonight? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so it passes. So we will go ahead and sign this, and we can pick this up tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Have
thank
a good
you.
night.
So on these signature pages, the first page is just for you as the clerk, Lou, and the second page is for all of us.
I write patents, it's no problem.
All right. I think that's it, right? Thank you. That's your first clerk duties.
Yes, flexing the muscles.
All right, we're a little early here. We're going to our next appointment, 7:15. We're meeting with the DPW director, Mr. Oliva, about the Complete Streets project update, and also discussion about the Main Street portion of the project. And to the town manager, do we have something to share on the screen for those at home?
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
So the Main Street Complete Streets project is well underway. You've probably hopefully been by and seen it. So far, the majority of the work has been on Memorial Drive. That sidewalk concrete was poured on Saturday. Yesterday and today, they've been out there backing up the sidewalk with new loam and seed. They actually patched the asphalt today, so that's looking really good. Additional work has already taken place down on the island at Main and Oak Street, where it's pretty much all ripped up right now. And then also, the work will continue in front of Town Hall and then over onto the island along Main Street and in front of the convenience store. And that's really the reason I'm here tonight. So an issue had arisen in the layout of that sidewalk. The layout was proposed on our engineered plans to run. So if you walk from Town Hall past the driveway that runs next to Town Hall in front of the convenience store to the island, there's 2 parallel parking spaces on that inside curb of the island. The sidewalk was proposed to go by that along the back of the curb at those 2 parking spaces and then hang a left towards Mass Ave, basically near the flagpole. What's come up is there's a realization that the very large pine tree that's on the island, the spread of the tree overhangs that proposed sidewalk location by quite a bit. So our choices were to trim the tree to make room for the sidewalk, which on a large pine tree like that would not do it any justice. A second option would be to cut the tree down, which I wasn't comfortable giving that order, and I talked to town manager about it. In the meantime, I looked at some alternate locations for the sidewalk. So essentially what you're looking at there is just kind of traced out in black is the alternate path. So you see the pine tree on the right, that's causing the problems. You can see how close it is to the curb above it. So that's when I started looking at alternate locations. So initially, the sidewalk was proposed in this location, but because of the plantings and all the hard work that's gone into those plantings, it was thought could get moved over to the other side. Where that's not now working, I've actually reached out to the Turkey Hill Garden Club about their plantings, the islands, and come up with a layout that pretty much, for the most part, skirts the islands except in the vicinity of the pine tree. So what we would have to do there is basically open up the end of that island to put the sidewalk through. We'd lose some of the island along Main Street and some of the plantings, and then we're out into the lawn and basically avoiding all the plantings from there on in. So my discussion with the garden club was that, we would do everything to save the plantings when they're removed. They can take them, we can replant them with them. Basically offered our assistance to try and undo some of the damage we're asking to do. While it's not ideal for them, they understand, we want a sidewalk, we're putting in a sidewalk. So with my reassurances, I got okay, well, we understand, so, so I'm happy to work with them to kind of maybe redo one of the islands or save the planting. So basically, I want to come in front of the board and let you know that's what's going on and hopefully get your blessing on doing that. It's just, I think in the end, it's a good compromise that I hope everyone can live with.
Yeah. I'll open it up to the board for any questions tonight.
No questions? None. I have none.
Did the garden club raise any concerns about,
The garden club is here.
someone from the garden club is here tonight. Would the representative from the garden club like to comment on this? If so, you have to approach the podium. And thank you for all the work that you and your peers do to help keep the center of our town beautiful. It's very appreciated.
I'm Andrea LaFord, 53 Pleasant Street. I'm not here on an official capacity to represent what everyone said at the garden club, but what they said in the emails has been represented accurately. And if the tree has to go, the tree has to go. I think the only concern we had about the tree was perhaps it was planted as memorial, but I don't know if that's the case. And if that is the case, maybe something else could be put in there to replace some other kind of way to memorialize whoever it was. But I don't know. But yeah, we'll adapt. And if the tree comes down, maybe that sidewalk can become a little straighter, and there'll be more room for plantings on when we looked at that photo on the right side of it.
My question for you and for Rob is there any concern about the survivability of the plants between the sidewalk and the roadway? Is there any concern about that? Would it be better to have the sidewalk hug the main road? That way all the ground is all together, and would that be better? Is there any impact there?
My idea is if the tree comes down, then the sidewalk can be moved over to a little to the left.
Yeah, I'm assuming that we're leaving the tree. I'm not sure if you can see the map over there that we're looking at, but if you're looking at that map and how it shows the sidewalk kind of coming between those curbside plantings, I guess my question is, does it make a difference on the plants if that sidewalk itself hugs the roadway And that way, instead of breaking up the plantable area, or does it make more
I
sense?
think it would encroach on the plants even more because the plants are right on the side.
Okay.
So I think we just like the opportunity to help take out those plants and perhaps save them for later.
Okay. I'm sure Mr. Olive will be happy to work with you on that. So, I mean, the tree is relatively young. I mean, I think that over time it's going to grow. We're probably 10 years away from that being cut back because it will probably at some point impact the sidewalk. But for now, I mean, I think that that's probably a compromise we all can agree to. I don't think we need a formal vote on this tonight, but I just want to get confirmation from the rest of the board that we're all in agreement with the plan Mr. Oliver proposed, the modification Mr. Oliver proposed. No concerns?
No concerns there.
Reasonable modification.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Same to you. All right, for interviews, appointments, reappointments, and resignations. In our drive, we have ratification of the town manager's appointment for the seasonal cemetery laborer, Daniel Dumford. And to the town manager, would like to offer any info on this?
Yes, so Mr. Dumford, he's a resident of Lunenburg. He's currently attending URI. But he is able to do this into the fall season as well, around his school schedule.
Okay.
So-
Any questions for the town manager?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion to ratify the town manager's appointment for seasonal cemetery laborer Daniel Dumford.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. Okay, and then we also have interviews and appointments to the Green Communities Committee.
They were told to be here at 7:30, so we're running ahead of schedule.
We're very early, so why don't we go ahead to the town manager's report, and then we'll come back.
All right. So first off, I'll announce the existing vacancies. There are 2 vacancies on the Architectural Preservation District Commission, 1 citizen at large and 1 representative from the Historical Commission. 1 vacancy on the Board of Assessors, which is a joint appointment between the Board of Assessors and the Select Board until the next annual town election. 1 vacancy on the Bylaw Review Committee. 2 vacancies on the Commissioner of Trust Funds, which is also a joint appointment between the Commissioner of Trust Funds and the Select Board until the next annual town election. There are vacancies in the Economic Development Committee, 1 person recommended by the Open Space Committee, 1 citizen at large, and 1 ex officio member that is a business owner. 1 vacancy on the Housing Authority, which is a position held by a tenant at Pearlbrook Apartments. 1 vacancy on the Senior Work-Off Program Committee, and 1 associate vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Anyone interested in serving on any of those committees can submit an application that is found on the town website and submit it back to the Select Board's office. Update on request for proposals. We had a optional site briefing for the 30 School Street landscaping request for proposal project that was held last Tuesday, and 1 person attended as far as the site visit briefing, but it was optional. We have received a number of inquiries for the RFP itself. So those proposals are due next Tuesday, August 17th.
Have you received any?
No.
I know.
As
normally the last-
historically, it's down to the wire that people submit. Update on Flat Hill Road Culvert Project. The engineer for the Flat Hill Road Culvert Reconstruction Project provided the DPW director and I an update on the construction prices they have been seeing for similar projects. Similar projects are seeing high prices right now, and according to contractors they've spoken with, the precast concrete fabricators and steel fabricators are short-staffed since starting back up after their COVID shutdowns and behind on work. So projects to get done before the winter are seeing a high price tag or getting little or no bids. Our engineer did a similar culvert project in 2019 that cost $550,000, and today's similar projects are around $850,000. Our current plan would be to move the utilities as needed, secure funding through the Small Bridge grant program and put it out to bid for a construction season that, in the spring, that would allow it to get constructed at that time frame.
And how are the homeowners?
I have heard no issues yet with the abutters.
Okay.
An update on the Pleasant Street Bridge project. The DPW director and residents have brought to my attention some outstanding issues with the Pleasant Street Bridge project. The DPW director is working with the engineer and the contractor to address these concerns. They actually have a meeting tomorrow to meet on site. All the final details should be worked out in the next couple of weeks, and when the date is known about when the road will be reopened, that will be announced. An update on the Massachusetts Ave Bridge project. The Mass DOT Bridge project on Mass Ave is nearing the completion of Phase 1 around the end of this month. When this phase is complete, the temporary traffic lights will be taken out, and two-way traffic through the area will be restored over the new bridge deck that was installed. At this point, Richards Way will be opened back up on Mass Ave. The road width will still be reduced, so please proceed with caution through that construction zone. An update on the Woodruff property. In May, I provided the board an update on the environmental site assessment that was conducted by an environmental consultant. This report was provided to the Conservation Commission, and in July, the Conservation Commission met and requested we file a notice of intent for this site. The environmental consultant that performed the initial environmental site assessment will be filing an NOI on behalf of our office and will attend any Conservation Commission meetings to answer related questions. I'll keep the board notified of any updates. The Town Hall Clock Tower and Building Envelope Capital Project. The design development for the Town Hall Clock Tower from the structural engineer has been completed, and our architect is currently working on construction drawings. They're working on how the finial, the decorative piece between the weather vane and the roof, will be reconstructed, and the base of the columns of the clock tower will need to be reconstructed as well due to deterioration. And all the mesh screening around the bell will need to be replaced as well. This will be incorporated into the overall project to address the town hall roof, chimney, and building envelope repairs as well.
Do you have an estimated timeline?
For that work, I would have to check on those pieces as far as the construction documents for those.
Okay.
Update, or actually this is probably new information for some people. The Lions Club has requested to move the food pantry from the second floor of the Public Safety Building to the TC Pacios building. Currently, all the items are stored in the second floor of the Public Safety Building in an unfinished space in that second floor, and have to be manually carried up and down the stairs as there is no elevator. Last week, I met with our Board of Health agent, the school facilities director, and school superintendent to review the kitchen space as an alternative and all the logistics around operating the food pantry out of that space, including sufficient space for all the shelving, sufficient power supply, if the Lions Club brought in a refrigerator and freezer to store cold and frozen items, additional operating costs, the need for a food permit, access, and security to the building. Also, during the pandemic, the food pickups moved from the Public Safety Building to the front entrance of the TC Pacios. So the process for putting together the food pickups would be more efficient, moving it to this space. The Lions Club president, Corinne Scouten, has reviewed the space to determine if all the shelving will fit in the kitchen space, and it appears it will all work. I'll continue to work with the Lions Club to relocate the food pantry to this space. The American Rescue Plan Act funds, also known as Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. In addition to the municipal allocation of CLRF funds, CLFRF funds, that Lunenburg was allocated, the Division of Local Services issued a memorandum yesterday regarding the county reallocation portion of these funds to eligible municipalities. Per the statute, funds allocated to counties categorized as not units of general local government by the U.S. Treasury, which include Berkshire, Essex, Franklin, Hampden, Hampshire, Middlesex, Nantucket, Suffolk, and Worcester counties, are to be reallocated to municipalities in those counties. The Commonwealth will distribute these funds on behalf of the U.S. Treasury. Like other payments of this, of the ARP funds. These will be made in 2 tranches, with the first tranche 50% distributed now, and the second tranche, the remaining 50% distributed not less than 12 months after the first payment is made. Lunenburg's county reallocation is $2,279,580. We will be eligible to receive 50% of this allocation, $1,139,790, on or about August 16th. Based on the language of the memorandum, it sounds like the funds would follow the same criteria as the municipal allocation. These funds will be must be obligated to designated expenses by December 31st, 2024, and the period of performance is by December 31st, 2026.
This is excellent news. $2.2 million.
In addition to the money we've already discussed. In other meetings, events, and announcements, the library is currently closed now until Sunday, August 22nd, while all the carpets get replaced. Book drop return slots will be locked during this time, so please keep your items through the closure or return them to another CW Mars library. Due dates have been extended, so no overdue fines will be charged while the building is closed. And if you place new holds on items, please consider selecting another library as a pickup location until the library reopens. Staff can also retarget existing holds to be sent to another library at your request. The Lunenburg Farmers Market is being held Sundays until October 10th, 10 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. And the summer band concert series are Monday evenings at 7 p.m. until August. Oh, that was last night, was our last one. So, and they had a successful season then with no rain out.
That's good.
And that's all I have for tonight.
Well, thank you to the town manager for the report. Are there any questions to the town manager from the board? No. All right. So I'm going to go back to our interviews, appointments, and reappointments. I see all members for our 7:30 are here, so we'll go ahead and get started. So we're doing interviews and appointments to the Green Communities Committee. So there are 4 positions right now. David Blatt, 3-year term. Liz Murphy, 2-year term. Dave Pacios, 2-year term. And Matt Snyder, 1-year term. And I just want to confirm that we're looking at 4 appointments tonight.
Correct. The 5th person that was on the task force decided not to ask to be appointed to the committee.
Okay. All right. So if typically we ask all members to come up and explain why you want to be on the committee, but I want to be mindful tonight that I don't think there's any probability that all 4 will not get appointed. So you don't need to sell yourself too hard here today. But if you want to come up, if you wouldn't mind, I'll call Mr. Blatt first, followed by Ms. Murphy, Mr. Pacios, and Mr. Snyder, just to explain your request to be appointed to the Green Communities Committee.
Good evening, folks. Dave Blatt, 411 Goodwood Street. Basically, I want to just do another 3 years because I don't feel like the work is done. They got fun projects coming up with the streetlight conversion and a bunch of other things. I think you guys have seen that we've done a great job as a committee to get some free funds and free things for the town, and we want to continue to do that. And I'd like to continue to be able to serve on the committee. I'm going to put a shameless plug in right now. As you heard, we're 1 member short, but we also have a couple of other openings. So if when folks are ready and looking to work and looking to have some fun on a committee, come join us.
All right. Any questions?
Okay.
All right. Ms. Liz Murphy. And if that's a Miss or Mrs., feel free to correct me.
Mrs. Yes.
Okay.
It's Elizabeth Murphy, but only my mother calls me that. But yeah, I'm 219 Rolling Acres Road, and I've been serving on the committee or the task force, I should say, for a while now. But this is just my way of giving back to the community. I feel like I have some skill sets that are useful to the green communities because I work in Fitchburg in the community development department, and I think that sometimes translates well to this kind of work. And, just happy to be on a board with Dave. He makes it exciting.
All right, any questions for Mrs. Murphy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Pacios.
Dave Pacios, 56 Whiting Street. This has actually been my first year on the task force, but I've been attending meetings for a number of years, way back at the very beginning of the conversations about the streetlights and some of the other projects that have been completed since that time. So my strongest interest is helping move this streetlight project along, and anything else we can bring to the town for funding. And again, I put in a plug for Dave Blatt. He works tirelessly for this committee. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Pacios. And Mr. Snyder.
Matthew Snyder, 985 Flat Hill Road. This feels like deja vu because I just recently was interviewed to join the task force, and then we subsequently were reformed as a committee. So as I said then, I'm interested in the work that the committee is doing. I was impressed at a town meeting to hear what they were doing and heard the call, as Dave just made again, for assistance. So I'm hoping to answer the call and have a bigger role. I really haven't had a chance to contribute too much to date, but looking to play an active role. I do work for a construction firm, so I do have some of the background I think necessary to help with some of these projects, and absolutely have an interest in being more green. No time like the present, so.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Snyder. Any questions for Mr. Snyder? Well, thank you all for stepping up. Again, you just highlighted that this was recently a conversion from a task force to a standing committee, which triggers why we're all here tonight. Mr. Pacios?
Yeah, Dave Pacios again, 56 Whiting Street. I'd just like to clarify briefly what Dave Blatt said about the membership openings, just so everybody at home knows. In the agreement to, or in the discussions in the transition from the task force to a committee, we asked that we be allowed to add 2 associate members. So we have 1 seated member still open and 2 associate member positions available. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. The associate membership that some boards opt to employ is a good way to step up and get more information, be engaged and learn prior to being actively a voting member of a committee. So if anyone's interested in stuff, and also if you miss a meeting, it's not as tragic. So if anyone at home is interested in learning more about the Green Communities Committee, please go to the town website, and there's a nice blurb there. Also, feel free to reach out to any of the members here tonight. Again, Mr. Blatt, David Blatt, Liz Murphy, Dave Pacios, and Matt Snyder. Their email addresses are posted online, so you can always contact them directly. I don't think we need to take these one at a time, so I will entertain a motion to approve Dave Blatt for a term of 3 years, Liz Murphy for a term of 2 years, Dave Pacios for a term of 2 years, and Matt Snyder for a term of 1 year, ending June 30th, ending June 30th of their prospective years.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye for myself. None opposed, so this passes. All of you, congratulations. And please be sure to check in with the town clerk and be sworn in. So thank you. All right. So going on to current business here. So we have approval of the July 27th, 2020 minutes.
2021.
Sorry, 2021 minutes. Yeah, right. I'm assuming we've all had the opportunity to look at these. So I'll go ahead and, do we need a motion for minutes?
Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right. So passing this down to sign. We also have a accounts payable warrant. And this is from the 4th. Not all of us were able to think, sign this one. So we're also passing this down, and thank you to Mr. Marino for signing this in advance. Are there any action items? All right, any committee reports? Okay, moving on to old business. So discussion on notice from Mass Housing on the 40B site approval application from Pondview Commons, LLC, Kevin O'Brien. So as the town manager announced in the town manager report, I believe that was in the town manager report,
Just under announcements.
that the timelines have been extended, so all members of the public, you do have a little bit more time to reach out to us till the 23rd of August to provide any kind of comments, public comments or feedback related to the 40B project. I get that date right, August 23rd?
Yes,
Perfect.
you did.
So I do want to also mention tonight, we have a lot of, our town is comprised of a lot of great volunteers. And I want to really highlight one tonight, which is Mr. Jack Rabbit, who's a member of the Conservation Commission, also very active in our town for many years in many different capacities. So, one of the questions is if there's any kind of impact of conservation related to this 40B. Mr. Rabbit has done a lot of research already since being given this task in part by the Conservation Commission, and also just learning the information as it's become available the last couple of days. And so he highlighted two things, and I just want to bring this to the board and the public's attention. I do have to refer to my notes here about this. That the land that the property is on, Mr. Rabbit identified two things. One is that it's designated as an area of critical environmental concern by the Commonwealth. So you can go online to Google exactly what all of this means. But the gist of it is that towns can identify certain areas that have that are significant to the environment, and then it's a process with the state to then for the state to then kind of reaffirm that. They create a map of areas of critical environmental concern across the state. This is one of the pieces of, and then it's reviewed every so many years. So it doesn't stop any kind of development from occurring, but it does implement an additional permitting process by the Commonwealth to approve any kind of development on land that is designated as areas of critical environmental concern. So again, I want to thank Mr. Rabbit for his deep research on that one. And then the second thing is Mr. Rabbit also identified that this area is also designated as a critical natural landscape by the Commonwealth, which basically is a designation a little separate from the areas of critical environmental concern, but it basically states that this land is necessary for the biodiversity that's required, or expected throughout the Commonwealth and surrounding areas. That it's critical to the animals as well as plant life, and again that biodiversity that's there, and so it does have that designation of critical natural landscape. So we do have two questions then to our council on exactly what the impact is of this on the 40B that's proposed at this location. But again, I know I keep saying Jack Rabbit here, but I want to say it one more time. I really appreciate Mr. Rabbit as a volunteer and the time he's put into identifying this to bring this to our attention. I think it's knowledge that we all probably had in the back of our mind, but it's good to know that this is designated land, and again, we still need to know what the impact is of that. I will ask, though, former member of the Conservation Commission, if you happen to have any insight, Mr. Dwyer, into either the critical natural landscape or the area of critical environmental concern.
I don't, in my 6 years on the commission, I don't think I don't recall a hearing where this has come up and prevented a development. So I'm very interested to see how we proceed moving forward with that and impact on the development potential.
Okay. Excellent. All right, are there any other comments tonight? I know we're trying to reserve some of our strong opinions, but are there any about either way, but are there any comments tonight from any members of the board about the 40B site approval application process?
Not at this time.
All right. As a recap, we had a great workshop last week with town council to review the 40B process. It's a really unique, comprehensive permitting process. So any member of the community that's interested, that is posted on YouTube, so please check that out. That was last Tuesday, and it was a workshop, about an hour, 15 minutes or so, 30 minutes, run by Town Council. All right, we're here for a historic time tonight, 7:41, we're wrapping up. All right, our upcoming meetings are August the 17th and August the 24th. Before we conclude tonight, are there any public comments from the public? Seeing none, are there any public comments from the board?
No.
Okay. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the time is now 7:41. We are adjourned. So to all of our neighbors at home, I trust you will enjoy the rest of your evening and have a good night.
The recording has stopped.
And will the booth confirm if we're all fair?
Thanks.
Good night.
Will the booth confirm if we're all fair?